day you do?
Yeah, regular.
Great. What time?
Now, usually around
You
7.
at work?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Where does that go down? In that main bathroom?
Howard, you are so
Oh, my
uptight
God.
about going to
And
the
what's stinking
bathroom.
there? Aren't you embarrassed?
Not if it's a healthy poop.
Oh, my God. I would
Howard, you
never
are
shit
so...
at work. I wouldn't. You shit every day at work. Oh, that's so
You
hot.
are so
And what
uptight.
happens when, like, have you ever walked in on her and smelled that vile?
No, thank goodness I don't know. Howard, look at you. You are so uptight. You've got your own thing over there
there's
with
a
a
reason
lock
for
and
that.
a key.
Yeah, because if I, God forbid, ever have to make a duty here at work, I'm going to do it in there.
Do you talk about that in therapy?
Yeah, sure.
Oh my God, you're so uptight.
My therapist is thrilled. That's why I'm shitting in his... Like, I'm going to show up there and shit.
Yeah.
Do that at home.
So what time do you go?
When I get home.
Yes, it means a really
And you
bad
want to know
place.
something? My body doesn't even kick in till I go home. Like, it's so...
You're so
repressed.
uptight.
Yeah.
Oh, A-B roll.
Thank God, though. You go into the ladies' room
What
right
am I
here.
supposed to do?
You're talking about like around 7 o'clock or so. You go. Did you go today already?
No, I didn't have to
So
go
you're
today.
gonna have to go soon.
Maybe.
Yeah. You're gonna go in there. You're gonna sit down and like everyone's
the
gonna
rest of
smell.
the world.
And no.
Yes.
Everyone's gonna smell that.
People don't have their own private bathroom.
Yeah. Well, that's why I go at home.
Those were
I
the
do.
days before they had
I would
computers.
never shit where people can smell my smell. Oh my God! I didn't know that was going on every day. Robin, you gotta go in.
No
Oh, double
idea.
okay.
I'm normal.
Has anybody ever walked in when Lisa's taking a shit? Any women?
One little mistake.
It must be a whole... You don't even realize why you're a little...
I'm Dr. Jane Goldberg. I'm hosting a show today. We have with us as a guest Cher Carden.
Good morning. How are you?
Thank you, Cher, for being here. The topic we're going to talk about today is going to be colon health, and I'm going to tell you why I'm interested in having you here to talk about this. A friend of mine sent me a YouTube of Howard Stern on the Howard Stern show the other day, and he happened to announce on his TV show that when he's at work, I don't know how long he's there, he's got to be there 8 hours, that he refuses to use the bathroom to have a bowel movement.
Oh.
And the person who was, I'm not familiar with the Howard Stern show so much, so I don't know who this woman was, but she had earphones on and she was very beautiful, and she was kind of bantering back and forth with Howard. Howard, but you have to, if you have to go to the bathroom, you have to go. You have to go when you have to go. And he was very adamant about the fact that he is not comfortable using a bathroom other than in his own home. So a few friends of mine that I showed that to were rather appalled, and and this woman that was on the show with him said, "Howard, you're neurotic." So I've been talking about this topic with a few people, and it turns out there are several people that have talked to me about that they, when they're out, they will not use any public bathroom, even if they're in a hotel, if they're at work, where they go every day, same place, and then they rush home and, you know, run up the stairs or run into the elevator, and as fast as they can get to the bathroom, that's when they do it.
Yeah.
So I thought we could begin the discussion with this, and the reason why I invited you, Cher, is because you're a colon therapist at La Casa de Spa, and you've been doing this now in New York City for 15 years,
Yes.
I think. So let's begin the discussion with that, and then we can go into the importance of having a healthy colon maintenance program and what that means.
Okay. Well, the scenario you just described with Howard Stern is a very familiar one. I've heard this many, many times. And I've also heard, too, that when people travel, they have a very difficult time, not just going to the bathroom, using the facilities at work, but also when they travel, or even going to another person's house, even if it's a person that they know and trust. I had a friend who I've known for 20 years, and he came to my house, had a lovely time, and then he suddenly had to leave. And he got up and he left, and there's something, I could tell there was some kind of shift in him. And he left, and then
like
he came back.
It was secretive.
Yeah, it was
reason.
secretive, exactly, yeah. And so then he left, and I was scratching my head as I closed the door. And about 20 minutes later, he showed up again. And he knocked on the door, again, having this nervous look and not really revealing what's wrong. And I said, David, is everything okay? And so he goes, yeah, can I come in for a minute? And I said, sure. And he says, I really have to go to the bathroom. And he just couldn't, because he was like Howard Stern. He doesn't like to go to the bathroom any place besides his own home.
But he couldn't get to his home in time.
And he couldn't get home in time because he lived in Brooklyn and I'm in Manhattan. And
So
he decided.
He was wandering around the streets looking?
Well, he tried to go home, but he had to go so badly that he decided just to turn around and give in to his feelings of discomfort about this and go ahead and use my facilities. And then afterwards, he was relieved, and we joked about it and we laughed about it. And that's what we need to do. We need to lighten up about this subject. And, anything that happens south of the border for most people is just too embarrassing to even admit to,
I like that expression, south of the border.
And I have lots of men and women who come in who talk to me about this embarrassment, and they don't know quite what to do about it or how to handle it. And I also have women who, this one woman is now living with her boyfriend. They've been together for over a year. She will not allow herself to use the bathroom while he's in the apartment. Yeah. And consequently, she's now suffering from a lot of bowel complaints, such as gas and bloating.
So the point is, holding it in for that period of time is not healthy.
Exactly.
And it does cause biological ramifications in terms of what it is that your colon is doing, what it needs to be doing, and what it can't be doing.
Yes, exactly.
When you are constricting in that way.
Yes.
So tell us a little about that.
Well, it's very important to heed the call of nature. And when you don't heed the call of nature, there's a number of things that can happen. And certainly in the short run, what happens is you have discomfort. We all know what it's like to have a good bowel movement. We don't talk about it, but we know how good we feel when it's over. But also look at those times in your life when you haven't gone and how sick you feel. You literally feel sick. You're nauseous, you're uncomfortable, you're kind of wanting to hold your stomach, you're not able to concentrate, your mind is constantly preoccupied with this experience going on inside your body. While inside your body, something similar is happening. There's this feeling of constriction. And when that happens, then you have toxins that are staying in your system that are now circulating, and they don't have an avenue to exit with.
And one of the key principles of holistic health is to have as little waste and as little internal pollution as possible. So we really want all of that. Whatever is waste, whatever we're not using, our bodies are not using biochemically, we want out.
Yes. Norman Walker was a very famous colon therapist and homeopathic doctor. He talked extensively about this and the fact that 80% of all disease comes from an unhealthy colon, and 80% of all good health comes from a healthy colon. 80% of your body's energy is spent on your digestive system. So if you're not caring for that, just like you would care for a baby, you wouldn't really leave a baby alone for a minute. Your mind is always thinking about your baby and taking care of your baby. Well, we need to have that kind of dedication to our colon health, because without that, then we have the breeding ground for disease.
Before we go into that topic, so speaking of Norman Walker, should we assume that the fact that he was as conscious as he claims to have been and as he says we should be, might be a contributing factor to the fact that he died when he was 116?
Yes.
112, 116,
yes.
I forget which it is, but he obviously lived a very healthy life in terms of pertaining to this awareness of what goes in has got to go out.
Yes. He dedicated his whole life to the understanding of what it is that produces a healthy body. And colon therapy was a very large part of that, as well as colon management. And what do I mean by colon management? Well, you have a car and you have it tuned up all the time. You put the proper type of gas in it. We have a tendency as human beings to not care for our bodies like we care for our cars. If you took some other foreign substance and put it in your gas tank, or even an inferior gas and put it in your gas tank, what would happen? Your car would let you know immediately that that's not okay. But one of the beauties about the human body is that it does tend to endure many assaults over a period of time.
Yeah, sometimes it amazes me
Yes, I mean,
how people abuse their bodies and the bodies still
Yes.
keep chugging along.
Yes.
Eventually, you have to pay the price.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And what Norman Walker did is he looked at, well, if we were more fine-tuned in how we take care of our bodies, what would that produce?
And if
he
the
was
quality of the input, the quality of the oil and the gas
Yes.
were superior,
exactly, yes.
we would, as automobiles, our bodies would be functioning better.
Yes. Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm a proponent also of live foods, because I coined the phrase live foods for live bodies. This is a live body, and when you put chemicals into your system and dead foods into your system, or foods that have no life force energy into the system, then we're only perpetuating that whole understanding of dis-ease. And getting back before what you said about Howard Stern is, one of the things that happens too with the colon when you don't go to the bathroom on a regular basis is that it begins to distort the colon. One of the things we have in the colon therapy room is a picture of a healthy colon, and then we have pictures of colons, they're X-ray examples of what colons look like when they are exposed to what we tend to term as civilized diets, which the American diet and most diets actually are not very civilized. They're really meant for the palate. They're meant for the emotional self, but not for the physical self.
And part of that is processed foods.
Yes, and a large part of that is processed foods, and also poor food combinations, and I'll get into that more a bit later. That's all a part of actually colon management. But one of the things that happens is when you don't heed the call of nature is that it begins to balloon out in different areas of the colon, so then you get pockets. Like a lot of us are very familiar with, oh, I seem to have the same pocket where I get gas that gets lodged in there all the time. I have that complaint a lot of times with my clients, and part of the reason why is from overeating, because we eat large amounts of food, and then that causes distortions or pockets that form along the colon, which is like a long tube. The colon is a very long tube. Some people don't know that. Some people think the colon is some small part that's located here or here or here. They have no idea where the colon is. The colon is actually a very long tube that's filled with muscles and nerves. And that tube has a peristaltic wave that we call, or an undulating movement that pushes or massages the food through. And when you...
You know, the more you talk, the more it sounds like birth. Because the undulation, it sounds like the labor pains, and then there's the release, and then you have such exquisite bliss because everything is out.
Yes.
And it's all over.
Yes. It's magical and wonderful how the body is made. When you look at how the body works, and it seems almost like magic. And the fact that it happens most of the time without us being even aware that it's happening. And so one of the things that
So let's get back to the bulging. So there are these pockets. So the colon is a tube like this, and it's hollow in the middle. And so the waste material is, through the peristaltic movement, the waste material is pushed along.
Yes.
Because the peristaltis is actually like the labor birth. It's the contraction of the muscle moving like that, and that's the propeller for the waste to move.
That's right.
And then the colon wall, because the material is not the waste from the food is not real food. I call it no food. So it doesn't really move along the way it should. And then it starts to coat the colon wall, and then that tunnel, the space, gets smaller and smaller. And then the peristaltic movement can't make contact with the stuff that is inside the tunnel.
Yes.
Inside the hole in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then,
what you're describing is really impactment. When that aperture closes and closes and closes, there is fecal matter that's stuck on the inside, and that becomes impactment, and that often causes cramping, a lot of gas buildup, and that's when people start to get alarmed, but you don't want it to get to that point. And one of the ways to help your body, or there's a number of different ways to help your body not get to that point, is to drink lots of water. It's very, very important that you drink water, because your colon needs a lot of water to do all that electrical activity that is going through the colon. The other is to eat lots of healthy foods, preferably organic foods, because then you're not being exposed to pesticides and herbicides and any pollutants that may be on that food. Certainly an abundance of greens. I always talk to people. One of the things I've been reading about is the fact that most people on the East Coast are not getting enough minerals in their diet. And one of the ways to get minerals in your diet is to eat a lot of greens. Most of us are not aware of that, but greens and sea vegetables also. For people who are not, a lot of people don't know what I mean by sea vegetables, so I feel I should explain that. Sea vegetables, one of the examples is nori. When you have sushi, it's wrapped in this black seaweed, and that is a type of seaweed. And kelp, most people have heard of kelp. There's also other ones like arame and hijiki.
So
and
these come from the ocean, and
Yes.
the ocean has, I think, 92 trace minerals.
Yes.
Is that correct? 92? So any food that's grown in the ocean absorbs the minerals from the salt water, and it's a whole food.
Yes.
So it has all of the minerals. So when we use salt, for instance, if we're buying it from the supermarket, it's denatured, and
Yes.
instead of having 92 minerals as it has when it comes out of the ocean and is sun-dried and hand-harvested, sodium chloride is 2 elements instead of 92. So, so the beauty of seaweed and of all the dulse, nori, haziki, arame, they're all whole foods, and they all are rich in minerals.
Yes, and one of the things that one of my theories about seaweeds as well as algae, and also even the use of crystals and stones that we find in the earth, is the fact that these elements have lasted through centuries, through ice ages, and they've been through every kind of cataclysmic, experience that you can have, every kind of earth challenge that it can have, and it's surviving. So that, to me, since we are survivors, we're a species that's surviving, we're always looking for ways to increase our longevity and to increase the quality of our lives.
What else has survived? What lessons can we learn from what else has survived? I've heard the cockroaches are going to survive through nuclear holocaust, so I don't know what lesson we're going to learn from the cockroaches.
I'm sure there is. I have yet to find that one, but I'm sure there is a lesson in there. But certainly when you're ingesting these foods, I believe that you're also ingesting an intelligence as well, and as well as all the good minerals that we need. And the minerals, as I said before, are very important towards increasing and maintaining that peristaltic wave that goes to the colon.
So I want to go back to this waste and the fact that there's a portal vein that connects the colon to the liver. The liver, the main organ of detoxification. So if the colon is polluted, then that backs up through the portal vein into the liver, and the liver that's supposed to be detoxifying no longer can do that because it itself has become septic or toxic from the toxic colon, and then we can get some serious health problems. And I'd like to make the connection between bowel movements, where we started the conversation, and cancer.
Okay. There's a number of things to respond to there. Well, you know that old song, how the ankle bone's connected to the shin bone and the shin bone's connected to the knee bone and all that? Well, the body is very much like that, and especially the digestive system, because we have all these wonderful organs doing their different things. You can kind of almost imagine that, one's operating over here and the other one's doing this thing, and they're all communicating with each other. But unfortunately, one of the things that happens is when the body is thrown off, especially through having too many toxins in the system, is that those connections, those communications get thrown off. And one of the important things, the liver does many, many different things, but one of the important things that it does is it sends bile to the colon. And when that happens, it kind of activates the colon. It also lubricates the colon so that the colon can send that food, that waste matter, all that food is being prepared to leave the body. And it's important for that bile to be able to start that ignition, so to speak. One of the things that I wanted to bring colon therapy in here a little bit, because that is a part of colon management. And sometimes my clients come to me thinking, well, all they have to do is get a colonic, and everything's like a magic wand, and it's really...
Let's define what a colonic is for our audience.
Sure. Colonic basically is an opportunity to clean out the colon using gentle flushes of water.
And it's done by a professional, a colon hygienist.
Yes.
And typically at a day spa or?
Yes, it can be at a day spa, or can be a colon therapy center that concentrates just on colon therapy. But it is administered by a colon therapist, a certified colon therapist. And the water is brought into the body through a tube, and that tube has connected to it what's called a speculum. And a speculum is another tube that's inserted into the anus about 2.5 inches. It has 2 openings on that tube that accommodate the inflow tube and the outflow tube. And one of the things that the tubing does is that your body, your colon, has a tendency to think of the tube as an extension of itself. And that's one of the things about colon therapy that I like so much, is that it is helping the body to, encouraging it to follow its own natural processes. And also during the time of the colonic, I'm also doing massage on the feet, on the lower back, and which helps to massage different pressure points that help the colon to then ignite and then to send
So
the
by
fecal
pressure
matter
points,
through.
you mean meridian points as per the acupuncture lines of energy.
Yes, exactly. And then also on their stomach to help to encourage that flow to happen, and also to help the client to relax. And
you can actually, when you're massaging the abdomen, you can actually help to move the water from your, this is
Yes.
your ascending, here's your transverse, and here's your descending, and you can actually kind of swish the water around to give it a deeper
Right, exactly.
colonic experience.
Yes, and you're describing the different sections of the colon. And when, as the water is coming in, I can massage it and just kind of, it's almost like a washing machine. It's just kind of a movement of pushing everything through and then out of the body. And I often talk, and so getting back to what I was going to say before, my clients sometimes think that's kind of a magic wand, and once they do that, you know, they eat crazy and drink crazy, and then come and get a colonic and it's all well. But it's really one part of colon management. The colon therapy is a very important component of it, but so is diet, so is exercise. There are different types of exercise that are specifically very good for the colon that I talk to people about when they come in. So when people come in to get a colonic, they're not just getting a colonic, they're actually getting a lot of information that hit different points of understanding how to put together your own colon management system. And one of the things that I really love about colon therapy and also about understanding colon management is that it puts you in charge of your body and your health. Now, I grew up in an environment where, you know, my grandmother had really bad arthritis, my mother got cancer, I ended up getting cancer, I ended up getting arthritis in my hands, and so I automatically assumed, well, hey, my parents have it, my grandparents have it, so obviously I'm going to get it too. And it's almost like some kind of doomsday is going to fall on me, you know, that I have no control over. Now, when I did discover that I had cancer, I learned about colon therapy, which is one of the many ways in which I helped my body to heal itself.
So are you suggesting that part of why you got cancer was related
Yes.
to the fact that your colon was not functioning
Yes.
efficiently?
Yes. I definitely ate, you know, a standard American diet, and I ate lots of sweets growing up and lots of processed foods and things like that. And there were times when I didn't heed the call of nature and I didn't exercise properly, and also stress. And I also believe, too, this is my theory, that the colon is an emotional organ. We know that when we don't go to the bathroom, we feel emotional. And when our bodies are cleaned out and the colon's cleaned out, we feel great. Not only physically, but emotionally. It's like you can hug the world. You feel so good, you know? There's nothing you can't do when your body is feeling good. Yeah. And, but when your body's not feeling good, everything kind of implodes. It just doesn't, you don't feel as alive, you don't feel as capable. And I noticed that's exactly what started happening to me, Jane. So I started to feel, I am mostly a very earnest kind of person.
It means, when we were talking about the shoot off from the colon, colitis is inflammation of the colon. These are all signals, let's call them pre-signals, that tell us that you are en route to a much more serious problem that will probably ultimately lead to cancer. So it seems to me that these warning signals you're saying should be heeded, and there needs to be a correction so that colon health is restored.
Yes, exactly. So if you're noticing...
let me just say, there's a study that was done at Kaiser Permanente, the big research hospital and clinical hospital in California, that evaluated bowel movements with women that had breast cancer. And they did find that the women that were diagnosed with breast cancer had fewer bowel movements than the women that weren't.
Yeah.
So there is that research that shows, really documents medically the connection. So
it's very interesting you should say that particular connection, because as you know, my cousin just passed away last week of breast cancer. And 2 years ago, I remember her coming to me and saying, you know, Cher, I'm having a lot of problems with my bowels. And just about 6 months later, she was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
And so that's when she started to do something to clear out her system.
Yeah.
And of course, that happened to me also. I had cervical cancer, and then later on, I had cancer again, and the
Yeah.
reproductive system. So
And your program of curing yourself, and you cured yourself. A doctor
Yes.
didn't cure you.
No.
You went on a self-program of detoxification and nutrition.
Yes.
But detoxification, many people think it's important to eat well. I think not everybody understands the importance of detoxifying and how critical that is in terms of maintaining health. Cher, I have really enjoyed this conversation. I thank you so much for coming. I want to remind us that the name of the show is Inspirations, and to say a little about what that means. The word inspire is from Greek or Latin. The original etymology of it is to breathe into, and the second etymology, an older etymology actually, is divine. And so my hope in doing this show, and thank you for helping me to accomplish this by being here today, is that we will breathe in guidance and divinity into our audience so that they can live their lives with wisdom and intelligence. And if you would like to make a comment about that.
Well, as an offshoot to that, I would say I believe that we're all meant to be happy, healthy people. And for those people who have a sense of a higher power, I believe that higher power brought us here for that reason. And that good health is not something that happens by good luck. It happens because you're working towards it.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that is that once you understand that, then the world is yours. And you have nothing but happiness and joy to have as a result of embracing that.
Thank you, Cher.
Thank you.
I am Dr. Jane Goldberg.
Jane G. Goldberg, Ph.D., is an internationally recognized psychoanalyst with a private practice in New York City and New Jersey. She specializes in working with cancer patients as well as those afflicted with diseases of the heart, both metaphorical and literal. She is the author of 10 books, and her most well-known book, The Dark Side of Love, was received with critical acclaim. She is the owner of La Casa Day Spa, located at 41 East 20th Street, that's between Park and Broadway, as well as the founder of Inspirations, the Day Spa, at the 92nd Street Y, and La Casa Resort Spa in Puerto Rico. Dr. Goldberg has continually been in the forefront of the holistic health movement. Over 40 years' experience with her patients has demonstrated that most physical afflictions can be cured through natural means, and most notably, a cancer diagnosis need not be a death sentence.